Picture a tiny yellow face. Hollow, expressionless, iconic. It has been sitting in toy boxes, lost under couch cushions, and pressed painfully into bare feet for nearly 50 years. You have held thousands of them in your lifetime and never thought twice about what is inside. But flip one over, look into the neck cavity, and you will see it. A small, deliberate hole bored straight through the top of the skull. It is subtle, easy to miss, and most people assume it is a manufacturing artifact, something left over from the mold. But here is the surprising truth. That hole was put there on purpose, and the reason has nothing to do with building toys. Today, we are uncovering the hidden logic behind that tiny opening, how one quiet design decision became an act of engineering mercy, and why the real story involves something far darker than you would ever expect from a children's toy company. To understand the Lego minifigure head, we first have to look at what happened before it. For most of the 20th century, toy safety was an afterthought. Manufacturers designed for fun, for durability, for price, and children paid for it in emergency rooms. Small parts were everywhere. Marbles, jacks, coin-sized wheels, tiny plastic soldiers. Choking incidents were common, and regulatory pressure built slowly. In the United States, the Consumer Product Safety Commission was established in 1972, and even then, enforcement was largely reactive. The toy industry responded with blunt logic. Make parts bigger, make them fewer. Nobody was yet asking the harder question, not how do we prevent a child from swallowing something, but what happens to a child's body if they already have? The minifigure arrived in 1978, and tucked inside that launch was a quiet answer to that harder question that the industry had not yet thought to ask. Most people who know about the hole have a simple explanation. It is a stud connection point, so the minifigure head can clip onto the body, and that is partially true. The cylindrical neck of the minifigure body press fits into the head from below, and the head rotates on that joint. But here is the problem with that explanation. If the hole existed purely for the connection, the top of the skull would be closed, like a cup. The stud enters from the bottom. The top has no structural reason to be open at all. So if that is true, why don't we just seal it? Here is where the engineering gets serious. A child's airway, in the critical zone behind the tongue, is roughly the same diameter as a minifigure head. A sealed head, smooth, hollow, perfectly cylindrical, would behave like a plug. It would conform to the soft tissue of the throat and block airflow completely. And in a fully obstructed airway, you have minutes before irreversible damage begins. The hole changes that equation. The internal cavity of the head creates a partial channel when the head is lodged against soft tissue. Air can move, not freely, but enough. The difference between a sealed head and one with that small opening is, in the worst possible circumstances, the difference between a recoverable emergency and one that is not. Lego did not design the hole to prevent the accident. They designed it to make the accident survivable. But here is the weirdest part. They never told anyone. There is no safety sticker celebrating the hole, no press release titled, "How we designed our toy for the moment things go wrong." The decision was folded silently into the design, the way a seatbelt latch is engineered to release even under cold, panicked, fumbling fingers. It is a passive safety system. It assumes failure and plans for it. And once you see that philosophy, you start noticing it everywhere. The BIC pen cap has a hole in the top for the same reason. The rounded tip of safety scissors is not just for comfort. It is for the moment a child falls with them in hand. The frangible panels in aircraft fuselage walls are designed to blow outward, not inward, on the assumption that someone might one day need to punch through them from inside. Breakaway traffic bollards are engineered to fail cleanly so the car survives the collision. Every one of these decisions shares the same intellectual posture. The designer accepted that the worst-case scenario would happen, stopped trying to prevent it, and instead engineered the consequences. That posture has a name in industrial design. It is called failure mode thinking. And the Lego minifigure head is one of the most elegant, miniaturized examples of it ever put into mass production. And this is where it gets interesting, because this decision did not happen in a vacuum. The Lego Group prints "not suitable for children under 36 months" on every box containing small parts. That warning is worth examining carefully because it is doing two things at once. On the surface, it is a safety instruction. Underneath, it is a legal instrument. By printing it, Lego formally transfers liability to the parent or gift giver who ignores it, while simultaneously acknowledging, implicitly, that the company knows exactly where their products actually end up. Toddlers get Lego through older siblings, through careless gifting, through the ordinary chaos of real households. A company that has sold over 1 trillion bricks globally cannot sincerely believe otherwise. Engineering a passive safety feature into the minifigure head is not just the right thing to do. It is the answer to a question their legal team was certainly asking. What is our exposure if a sealed head causes a fatality? The whole costs Lego nothing to produce. The mold simply leaves material out, and its presence transforms the narrative from defective product to responsible design. Smart engineering and smart liability management are, in this case, literally the same whole. But here's where it gets complicated, because if passive safety is such a powerful and cost-effective design principle, why don't more toy companies do it? The answer is that most of them do not think about failure modes until they are forced to. Safety features that are invisible by design generate no marketing value. You cannot put "engineered for the moment your child swallows it" on the box. The feature protects the child and the company only if the scenario actually occurs, and no parent wants to imagine that scenario, which means no marketing team wants to surface it. Lego never advertised the whole, which means they got no commercial credit for the decision. They absorbed the cost of the thinking and received nothing back except, quietly, the knowledge that the design was better than it needed to be. That is a particular kind of corporate character. It is rarer than it should be. Next time you hold a Lego minifigure head, don't see a plastic toy component. See a 45-year-old decision made by engineers who thought one step further than anyone required them to. See the same philosophy that punched a hole in a pen cap, rounded the edges of a school desk, and shaped the crumple zones of every car on the road. See the stubborn, unglamorous, deeply human instinct to plan for the moment things go wrong, not because it is required, not because it can be advertised, but because the people who build things sometimes ask themselves a harder question than the one on the brief. That instinct is everywhere around you, built into objects you have touched 1,000 times. The question is just whether you know how to look for it. Failure mode thinking might be the most important design concept you have never heard of. If this made you rethink something you see every day, hit like and subscribe for more. The yellow face was never just a face, it was a plan.